Hey, girlfriend, you know who you are. You have big, big dreams. You want to write a book, stand on a TED Talk stage, be a life coach offering wisdom from your RV in Montana, a cafe in Barcelona, or a beach chair in Tulum. Your other girlfriends and your family, they don't always get your biz savvy. Why do you want to leave your JOB? Because you're a C.A.T.S, aka coach, author, thought leader, and speaker. Meet other change makers like yourself and find out how they make it happen. This is the Big Meow podcast.
All right, all you women entrepreneurs, this is Kristen, and I'm here with Beverly Lewis. Hi, Beverly.
It's good to be here. Hi.
So I love it that you call yourself the Chief Encouragement Officer. I think a lot of us women entrepreneurs really need encouragement.
Absolutely. Who doesn't? I mean, everybody wants to be appreciated, and whether we admit it or not, I think we all need to be encouraged. That's why I love what you're doing.
It's such a solo journey. That's where I got this idea from. I thought, gosh, there's so many women out there that just want to share their voice. They have a message, and you're working so hard on your business. You've got your head down, and we don't always get the chance to shout out and share how we're really committed to making a positive impact on the world.
Yes. And we are wired to need one another. We are really not supposed to be lone wolves. And I think that women especially, but business often, the philosophy of the world is, we compare ourselves and we compete, but I like to collaborate. So I love this.
No, I agree. I agree so much. So share with me a little bit about what's going on. What are you working on in your business right now?
Okay, well, what I do primarily is I'm an executive trainer and speaker, and I work with business people to help build teams that have good engagement, good communication. My motto is to help them develop confidence in their calling, clarity in their communication, and consistency in their character. And I love what I do because it challenges me to do all of that every day. And it's an intention. So I do work with all kind of different organizations. I work with a lot of, believe it or not, city, county, and state government, as well as nonprofits. I just love working with teams and seeing them become engaged and trust one another and communicate well, because actually that carries into their homes and their lives too.
Well, yeah, what happens at work definitely spills over when we go home at the end of the day. It's just hard because, between sleep and work, there's not that much extra time in our lives. So what inspired you to start this business?
Well, I started out right out of college owning my own business because I was kind of high thinking then, and nobody was willing to pay me what my self-worth was.
I love it.
Yeah.
Give me the money.
So I've always owned my own business, but I owned a business years ago that was called Health Designs, and then that morphed into Health Matters. It was a wellness company, and I was the CEO, so it was my job to bring in clients. And the way to do that was through educating the community about what we did. So I started speaking a lot. And that's when I realized that was actually what I really love to do, is speak and educate adults. So that's how it started. And it really wasn't about the money. That's what I always tell people, is that you've got to have a big enough why to overcome. Without a reason why, any price you're asked to pay is too high, and you're not going to last, because I don't care what you do and how much you love it, you're going to have days that you don't love. You're going to have weeks that you don't love, even months and maybe years where you don't really love it. But when you stay in touch with that why, it'll keep you going through the hard times.
You brought something up that I think a lot of women entrepreneurs, they want to get their message out there. They want to do speaking. I mean, what advice would you give to someone today who has their own business? They want to do more speaking. How could they find speaking gigs or get started?
You get started with the free stuff, the JCs and the Rotaries and the things that they're all weekly meetings in local communities, and they're looking for speakers. So that's where you start, and that's where you start gaining your confidence and realizing, kind of crafting your message. That's my advice. And it does get to the point, after I had been speaking for years, and then I moved to a new community, and then we went through the recession where speakers, nobody was hiring them. That was back in like 2008. And then I felt like I was starting over again, which happens when you lose momentum. And I thought, are you kidding me? Do I have to do free stuff again? I did. And it wasn't because I needed experience. It was because I needed exposure. I needed people to know who I was. And that's a really good way because it's right there in your community.
You are listening to the Big Meow podcast, empowering women entrepreneurs to share their voices, make an impact, and transform the world in a positive way. Sponsored by Orange Cat Content Marketing Agency.
No, absolutely. And this kind of leads me to the next thing I'm curious about. Have you had a challenge in your business recently as an entrepreneur, and what did you do to overcome it?
Oh, yes. I had to think, well, which one should I tell them about? Actually, the most recent challenge was a health challenge. At the beginning of this year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this. In fact, I was on a business trip when they called me and said, we've got you scheduled with the surgeon tomorrow. And I'm like, wait, I'm on my way out of town. I'm going to be gone for a week, and you're going to just have to wait. So I guess how I overcame it, the first thing was a decision to not get in fear. And I do teach about internal locus of control and external. When we allow external circumstances that we cannot control to determine our attitude and our altitude, we're in trouble, because there's always going to be things that we can't control. And that was one of them, but I could control my response. So I set a goal, and I was very fortunate. But now I won't go into detail, but I set a goal that I was going to make this situation work around my life and not let it define my life. And again, I've been fortunate, but that was my first good decision. And that was, okay, no fear, no rush. I'm going to be a research ninja, and I'm going to handle this. And so it's been, I've got a lot of good things to say, but that's just one of them. But life is full of them, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I definitely hope that you are on the mend. I know that it can be a pretty intense journey, but I do agree with you that, when you're the navigator of your own life, right? You own your own business. And I've always been an entrepreneur, with the exception of a small stint when I was in TV news and I work for other people. But, you got to be really careful about what outside influences you let impact you, because it really can take your productivity into a downward spiral.
Yes.
So if you are not careful as an entrepreneur, those outside influences can literally put you out of business.
Literally. Yes. I've had lots of opportunities to choose to go out of business, and no, no, I'm not doing it.
No, I do. I know. I think it's like this whole thing around just resiliency, and stuff's going to come up. And that's part of being a human, our human experience. We're going to have things that come up. Things will happen to us. Things will happen to our family members. Things will happen in our community. Things will happen in our world. And we do have to have, I think, some pretty strong filters, because at the end of the day, it's like we're still responsible for our own personal life experience, our attitude, our mindset, and all those things. And that, I do think, ties into your ability to be an entrepreneur for a while. I've been an entrepreneur, 20 plus years, done all kinds of projects with mixed levels of success. And, I'm just able to keep going. And it sounds like you're like that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's part of the journey. And that brings us to the whole thing that really success is a journey. It's not a destination. And it's not straight up.
No.
Mountains have switchbacks for a reason.
Exactly. I know. So what would you say to other women who are just starting out as an entrepreneur, or getting ready to want to up level or elevate their business? Do you have some advice for them?
I think the thing would be to stay connected with your heart. We tend to, we can become mechanical and thinking if we get, the right accountant, if we get the right software, if we get the right widget, if we get everything right, then this is going to happen. And again, I mentioned earlier, staying connected with your why. I think the most important thing is staying connected with your heart too, and relationships, and taking care of yourself as you go, because it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. So that would be my advice, is stay connected to your heart. I liken it to being a musician, that business success, in my opinion, is actually as much of an art as a science. And so staying connected with your creativity, taking care of yourself, having fun. Like one time I started a business that I found about a year into it, I lost my laughter, and joy is part of me. It's something
Not a good
who I
sign.
am. Not a good sign. And I thought, when was the last time that I laughed? And I normally laugh a lot every day. And I realized that was kind of a signpost for me that I've gotten off the road. I've gotten off of where I need to be. And it required some major painful changes. But stay true to who you are. You hear that, but it's a whole lot more than just a slogan. It's real.
It's interesting. And I say this a lot to my clients that I work with, because I have a marketing services agency, and it's like, if you can't unlock the part that you love and pursue that, it's not going to be sustainable, right? Because it's just too hard, because we're self-propelled to keep showing up for something in a business we don't love, or working with people that really aren't in alignment with us. So you have to be pretty self-aware up front about what works for me. How do I like to do things? Where do I get my fun from? I love to travel. Like, I'm going to Chile in a couple weeks, and and I like to work out of my RV. I mean, I like to do all these crazy things, and I just give myself permission to do it, right? Because, when you own your own business, you can do those things. And I think that, where you're at, as long as your environment inspires you and the people you're working with inspire you and you care about it, it makes it easier to keep going forward and maintain, like you said earlier, your momentum.
Yes. We have a lot to talk about.
So what's your vision? What's your vision for the future? I mean, it's time to kind of do a big review. What's coming up for you?
Well, my philosophy is the best is yet to come. I sign
it.
all of my emails that way. There's always better things ahead than what's even behind, which means, yes, I'm a visionary, and I always have a goals board, and I don't only just work on it in January, but I do pictures. I also do mind maps with purpose. So like one of the projects I'm working on, mostly I do live speaking and training, some Zoom training. And I did, of course, 100% Zoom training when people were in COVID lockdown. But now people pretty much want live training again. But I do one group that I call Women of Valor. And that group is close to my heart because it's for faith-based entrepreneurial women. And we meet once a week, and it is just such a joy of mine. It's one of those things that I truly can say that if I didn't get paid for it, I'd still do it because I love it that much. But I am expanding that nationally. So that's what's one of the things I'm working on for 2024. But I always want to grow. I never want to retire. I want to refire. I want to work. I want to learn. I want to grow as long as I live. So there's good things ahead.
I'm sorry, Beverly, I'm having like a little bit of a coughing attack.
Well, I understand.
Where can we find you?
I am at beverlyspeaks.com. That's my website. That's the best place to communicate with me. I do have a Facebook page and other pages that'll be in the show notes, but beverlyspeaks.com. It's funny because my name is Beverly Lewis, but I wanted something easy to remember. And at our local chamber, they think my name is Beverly Speaks. And that
That's
works for
awesome.
me.
I love it. It's perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the Big Meow.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Are you looking for authentic connections, business mentorship, and a supportive community? Join C.A.T.S Network. Thank you for listening to the Big Meow podcast. Please subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this episode with your community.